Chapter 1279. Xia Jiqing's pretty face was full of excitement as she and Bai Junyu chased after the 7th level Red Realm cultivator. Originally, with their strength, it was not easy to deal with a cultivator at the 7th level of the Red Realm. However, in the situation of fleeing, the cultivator at the 7th level of the Red Realm was not able to exert his full strength and finally died at the hands of her and Bai Junyu. Bailey Hongzhuang was also holding a Qianquan bag in her hand. The other party's morale had already been defeated by them, so it was not difficult to kill them. Xiao He, Xiao Bai and Bai Shi also came back, but the three beasts were obviously not so happy. Damn it, Fu Yeyu ran away. Xiao He's eyes were full of anger. Fu Yeyu is too despicable, he used his teammates as a shield and ran away by himself. Xiao Bai and Bai Shi did not speak, but from their expressions, it could be seen that they were depressed. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang quickly understood the situation at the time. She had a feeling that Fu Yeyu was the smartest person among the cultivators of the Sky Dynasty. However, this guy even used his teammates, it could be seen that he was not a good person. Forget it, he ran away. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was filled with a faint smile as she comforted the three beasts. In any case, their harvest today was very rich. Yes, he can't do anything by himself. Maybe he will die in the hands of the monsters or other cultivators before he gets out of the forest. Xia Jiqing said with a smile. In the small world, the cultivators who were alone were always at a disadvantage, and if they were not careful, they would lose their lives. Listening to the words of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, the faces of the three beasts looked better. It's getting late, let's continue. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly after looking at the situation of everyone. It took a lot of time to deal with the heavenly spirit bear before, and then it took even more time to meet the cultivators of the Sky Dynasty. They needed to rush to the city before nightfall. If they didn't hurry, it would be too late. Now, they had consumed a lot of energy, and their bodies were covered with wounds of various sizes. They had to return to the city to rest as soon as possible. Everyone nodded. Fighting 2 battles in a row was really tiring. Previously, when they were fighting, their mental strength was tense, so they did not think about it. Now that they had relaxed a little, they felt an indescribable sense of exhaustion. Dong Fangyu and Gong Shaoqing felt it the most. Their internal injuries were not something that could be healed in a short period of time, but they had already recovered a lot. However, they had to find a safe place to absorb the abundant energy in their bodies as soon as possible. Otherwise, it would affect them greatly in the long run. Everyone resumed their journey. Chapter 1280. Xia Jiqing and the others also looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with concern. Now, Bailey Hongzhuang was the backbone of their team. Hongzhuang, is your injury really okay? Xia Jiqing was worried. In the previous collision of martial arts, even if they were spectators, they could clearly feel the horror of the energy. What's more, Hongzhuang was in the center of the energy storm. Coupled with the fact that she almost fell off the cliff, they could faintly see Bailey Hongzhuang's pale face. Needless to say, they could also know that Hongzhuang must be injured. Looking at the concern on everyone's faces, Bailey Hongzhuang's heart warmed, and the smile on her lips softened. Don't worry, this injury will not be a problem. When everyone saw Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent and confident appearance, they were relieved. Hongzhuang herself was a genius doctor. Since Hongzhuang said it was okay, then the injury should not be too serious. However, they had to rest for a while in the next city. Healing was one thing, and absorbing the energy of the blood ginseng fruit was another. Bai Shi walked beside Bailey Hongzhuang, and the aura of the Beast King filled the air. On ordinary days, he restrained his aura in order to let his master have a better experience and gain points. Now that his master was exhausted, in order to reach the city early, he released his aura. In this way, there would be no monsters attacking them. As long as they did not encounter cultivators from other dynasties, they did not need to worry along the way. Because of the injury, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' speed was a bit slower than before. Fortunately, there were no monsters along the way, so their speed was not slow. In the distance, Fu Yeyu looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, and the hatred in his eyes burned his whole body. He never thought that such a thing would happen to him. As the leader of the medium-sized dynasties, the Sky Dynasty had always believed that they could get good results in the assessment. Ordinary teams were not their opponents at all, unless they met a large dynasty team. Fortunately, they hadn't encountered any teams from large empires in the past month or so. However, who would have thought that they would fail like this? Furthermore, they were defeated by a team from a small empire. This was something that should have been impossible, but it had happened. All his previous confidence seemed to have turned into a joke. Before today, they were the high-spirited team of the Cosmos Empire. However, in just one battle, all of his teammates had fallen. He was the only one left alive. He could imagine what would happen to him in the following days in this small world. Fu Yeyu's eyes were fixed on Bailey Hongzhuang. If it wasn't for Bailey Hongzhuang, he wouldn't have ended up in such a state. No matter what, he had to get his revenge. Fu Yeyu clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles turned white. It could be seen how much strength he had used. Revenge was a dish best served cold. He would definitely find a chance to take revenge. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were obviously heading to the city in front, he could not be discovered. He could only go somewhere else. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others continued to move forward, not noticing that there was a hateful gaze staring at them from afar. In fact, when Fu Yeyu had escaped, Bailey Hongzhuang had already mentally prepared herself. Chapter 1281. Night slowly fell, and after Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' non-stop journey, they finally successfully arrived at the city. Fortunately, there were no surprises or dangers along the way. After arriving at the city, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. They had experienced a lot of twists and turns today. If they were to do it again, they would really be exhausted. Her delicate jade-like face was filled with a charming smile. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was light and gentle. Everyone, find a room to rest first. Absorb the energy of the blood ginseng fruit as soon as possible and improve your strength. The energy of the blood ginseng fruit was very strong. If it were not for the medicinal pills, they were likely to directly explode and die. However, even with the medicinal pills, this situation could not be suppressed for long. They must absorb it as soon as possible. This was a good opportunity for them to improve their strength. Gong Shaoqing and the others nodded, their faces quietly filled with a trace of seriousness and excitement. For the blood ginseng fruit, they had walked through the gates of hell today. Now that they were back, they naturally had to work hard to improve their strength. We will work hard. Everyone chuckled. Hongzhuang, your injury has to recover as soon as possible. Xia Jiqing said with concern. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, don't worry, it will be fine in a few days. Immediately afterward, everyone walked into the house. In the next few days, they would be in retreat in the house. When the cultivators of Xianming City saw Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, their eyes lit up. This was because the appearance of the cultivators of this dynasty was extremely outstanding. The appearance of cultivators had always been better than ordinary cultivators, but the cultivators of this team were really natural beauties, which was very rare. From the previous situation of this group of cultivators, it was obvious that they had gone through a battle before. It could be seen from their dusty appearance. Once a cultivator was injured, their strength would be greatly reduced. If they wanted to make a move, this was an excellent opportunity. For a time, many cultivators' hearts were alive. They were just worried that other cultivators would have the same idea, so they had not made a move. Many cultivators only wanted to wait a little longer. If there was still no movement, they might be able to make a move. The first thing Bailey Hongzhuang did after returning to her room was to check her injuries. Apart from her internal injuries, she also had some external injuries. The internal injuries could only be slowly nursed back to health, but the external injuries needed to be treated with medicine. After applying the medicine, Bailey Hongzhuang placed the food in front of the three beasts and said, I'll go into seclusion first. The three beasts nodded. As Bailey Hongzhuang entered a state of cultivation, the three beasts frowned. They were very dissatisfied with their performance today. They actually caused their master to be injured. I'm still too weak. Xiao Bai furrowed her brows, her large, bright eyes filled with dissatisfaction. If they were strong enough, then such a problem would not have occurred. I'd better increase my strength as soon as possible. White Lion immediately picked up the demon crystal and ate it. It felt that it was getting closer and closer to breaking through. Today's battle had made it realize how weak it was. If its strength didn't increase, it wouldn't be able to keep up with its master's footsteps. Chapter 1282. Xiao He and Xiao Bai looked at each other when they saw how hardworking White Lion was. Their eyes were filled with helplessness. At least White Lion knew how to increase his powers. However, the two of them had not slacked off in their cultivation during this period of time. However, for some unknown reason, their cultivation had remained stagnant. They could not help but feel discouraged. Xiao Bai, why do you think we can't increase our powers? Xiao He had a bitter look on her face. She had always wanted to be her master's right-hand man and protect her. However, they could not increase their powers now. Although they could still be of some help for now, once master's powers increase again, they would be of no use. When she thought of this, she could not accept it at all. Xiao Bai had a bitter look on her face as well. I don't know either. This is just too strange. This feeling was as if some kind of seal had sealed away their powers. It was just too strange. We can't go on like this. We have to think of a way to increase our powers. Xiao Bai stomped her feet angrily. If their powers could increase, Master would not have been injured today. Xiao He and Xiao Bai looked at each other. The two beasts then looked helpless. During this period of time, they had tried many methods but to no avail. It was really depressing. White Lion munched on a few demon crystals. Suddenly, a familiar feeling spread from within his body. White Lion looked excitedly at Xiao He and Xiao Bai. I'm about to begin my breakthrough. Once Master has left her closed-door cultivation, please inform her for me. Hearing White Lion's words, Xiao He and Xiao Bai's eyes flashed with excitement. Then, the two beasts saw White Lion enter closed-door cultivation. Although it was said to be closed-door cultivation, it was actually just sleeping. After a brief moment of excitement, Xiao He and Xiao Bai could not help but sigh. White Lion had broken through again, but their cultivation levels had remained stagnant. Back then, how great was the gap between their powers and White Lion's? However, a year had passed and White Lion's powers were constantly closing in on theirs. After a period of time, White Lion's strength would surpass theirs. This was too worrying. When they thought of this, Xiao He and Xiao Bai stopped talking and began to cultivate together. Regardless of the reason why their strength had stagnated, they absolutely could not give up on cultivation. Bailey Hongzhuang, who was in seclusion, had no idea what Xiao He and Xiao Bai were thinking. At this moment, she was meticulously circulating the Demon Summoning Sutra. Along with the circulation of the cultivation technique, the abundant energy in her body also circulated in circles, constantly refining the energy, refining the impurities, and turning them into a part of her body. The energy of the blood ginseng fruit was gradually being refined, and the energy in Bailey Hongzhuang's dantian was also constantly growing. Silence was restored in the room. Only the breathing of Bailey Hongzhuang and the three demonic beasts could be heard. At the same time, Xia Jiqing and the others in the 4 rooms near Bailey Hongzhuang were also circulating the cultivation technique, absorbing the energy of the blood ginseng fruit. As they circulated the cultivation technique, they discovered how rich the energy of the blood ginseng fruit was. A steady stream of energy was injected into their dantian and they only felt that their strength was rapidly and steadily increasing. This kind of feeling was really too pleasantly surprised. Before this, they had never felt such a rapid improvement. Chapter 1283. The cultivators in Xianming City waited for Bailey Hongzhuang and the others to make a move after seeing them enter the house. They were all cultivators who had experienced many battles. Therefore, just by looking at the embarrassing appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, they could see that they were fighting with cultivators and not wicked beasts. Since Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could come back alive, it meant that they had killed the opponent's team. In this way, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others should have a lot of treasures and points in their Qianquan bags. Most importantly, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were now exhausted and injured. If they made a move in this situation, they would definitely win. Everyone's eyes fell on the closed door of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others from time to time, only thinking about whether they should make a move. However, just as some of the cultivators made up their minds to make a move, suddenly, the primary energy in the air seemed to be attracted to the closed door. Seeing this scene, the cultivators in Xianming City could not help but be stunned for a moment. Someone was about to break through. Everyone looked at each other. They did not expect that a cultivator would break through under such circumstances. It was really good luck to break through after a big battle. After Bai Junyu used his cultivation method to absorb the energy of the blood ginseng fruit, he felt that his aura was constantly growing and soon reached the edge of a breakthrough. Boom! A sound exploded in Bai Junyu's mind, and he broke through the barrier of the breakthrough in an instant. Level 5 of the Red Realm. In a short time, Bai Junyu completed the breakthrough, which was impossible under normal circumstances. However, after the blood ginseng fruit helped him break through to level 5 of the Red Realm, there was still a huge amount of energy. He continued to use his cultivation method to enrich the primary energy in his dantian. This is the aura of breaking through to level 5 of the Red Realm. I didn't expect this person to break through so quickly. After feeling the energy, the cultivators in Xianming City had already judged the strength of the other party. Breaking through was a very normal thing for cultivators. However, the speed of this cultivator's breakthrough was a little surprising. A cultivator at the 5th level of the Red Realm was not enough to stop them from attacking. After a short consideration, they decided to continue. At this moment, there was another surge of energy, but this time the person who broke through was Xia Jiqing. Xia Jiqing's face was serious, her eyes were closed, and she was meticulously absorbing the energy in her body. Previously, under the terrifying and enormous medicinal strength of the blood ginseng fruit, she was already unable to withstand it. Now that she could finally absorb this energy in peace, she had to cherish every bit of this energy to increase her strength. Boom! There was also an explosion in her mind, and a smile appeared on Xia Jiqing's face. 5th level of the Red Realm. Another cultivator at the 5th level of the Red Realm appeared. At the same time, 2 cultivators had broken through to the 5th level of the Red Realm, which made the onlookers' expressions change. One cultivator breaking through could be said to be a coincidence, but 2 cultivators breaking through at the same time was a little strange. Many teams from small dynasties had already given up their plans. The 2 cultivators at the 5th level of the Red Realm were not weak. Since it wasn't a guaranteed win, they weren't willing to take the risk. Chapter 1284. However, what happened next completely stunned everyone. They looked at the 5 rooms in shock and did not know what to say. Dong Fengyu and Gong Shaoqing's internal injuries gradually recovered under the effect of the blood ginseng fruit, and the remaining energy was continuously injected into their dantian. Under the infusion of this surging and abundant energy, their strength was also rapidly improving. Boom! Gong Shaoqing was the first to break through to the 6th level of the Red Realm. Since coming to the small world, he had been looking forward to improving his strength. After this period of hard work, he was not far from breaking through to the 6th level of the Red Realm. Now with the blood ginseng fruit, he directly broke through. Boom! Dong Fengyu followed closely behind and broke through to the 6th level of the Red Realm. In the past, his strength had always been slightly lower than Gong Shaoqing's, but after meeting Hongzhuang, he began to put all his thoughts on cultivation. Perhaps he just wanted to close the distance between them. For the first time in his life, he liked a woman wholeheartedly, but he found that he was indeed unable to reach her. Even though he knew that it was impossible, he still wanted to improve himself. 2 people broke through to the 6th level of the Red Realm in a row, and the cultivators in Xianming City were shocked. What the hell was this? There were only 5 cultivators in the team of this small empire. Not long after returning to the room, 4 people broke through one after another. They had never encountered such a thing. My God, which empire's team is this? How did they break through at the same time? In my opinion, they must have obtained some kind of treasure. Otherwise, it would be impossible for them to break through at the same time. I don't know what kind of treasure it is. These people are too lucky. In a short time, everyone had already confirmed their guess. Although they were very envious, from the situation, it was obvious that the other party had taken it. Even if they attacked now, the treasure would not be able to be taken back, so it was useless. At this moment, all the cultivators had completely given up their plans. Originally, they had planned to take advantage of the other party's serious injury to hit them when they were down. Now, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were obviously not easy to bully. Since it was not the best time and the treasure had been taken by them, it was meaningless for them to attack again. Boom! Bai Junyu had broken through from the 5th level of the Red Realm to the 6th level of the Red Realm. This delightful breakthrough speed made him reveal a big smile. The effect of the blood ginseng fruit was really too good. His strength had already increased by 2 levels, but he still hadn't completely refined the energy. Boom! Xia Jiqing's speed was not slow at all. Her cultivation talent was not bad, coupled with her constant efforts during this period of time, a breakthrough was expected. Boom! Boom! Gong Shaoqing and Dong Fangyu broke through once again. Both of their hearts were boiling. It was true that riches and honor came from danger. If they had obediently given the blood ginseng fruit to the cultivators of the Cosmos dynasty, they would not have made the breakthrough. This terrifying breakthrough speed attracted the attention of all the cultivators in Xianming City because this speed was simply too shocking. Chapter 1285. What kind of treasure did this small dynasty's team get? The breakthrough speed is so heaven-defying, and the 4 of them broke through at the same time. It's really weird. This kind of breakthrough speed is really enviable. Everyone's eyes were red with envy. Normally, it would take a lot of time to raise one's cultivation level, but they could directly save so much time. How could they not be envious? What's more, in this small world, strength was the most important. Everyone was trying their best to improve their strength, but the other side improved so easily. It was really annoying. At this time, many cultivators also noticed the room that had been silent. There were a total of 5 cultivators in this dynasty, and 4 of them had broken through 2 levels in succession. However, this room had been silent, which was a bit strange. Many people remembered the Bailey Hongzhuang in this room. That peerless beauty that could topple a city was really unforgettable. There has been no movement in this room. It seems that the aptitude of this cultivator is very poor. How can everyone break through so much? It's already very good that this team can have such a big improvement. Everyone seemed to have found a breakthrough, and the dissatisfaction in their hearts was expressed through this breakthrough. In any case, at least there was one person who could make them find psychological balance. However, just as everyone was ridiculing him, a suction force that was even stronger than any of the previous suction forces emanated from the room. The spirit power in the surrounding air seemed to be boiling and rushed madly into the room that had been silent. Such an attractive force made everyone stunned. They suddenly looked at each other and their faces became very interesting. This attractive force is stronger than the previous one. Is this woman also going to break through? Everyone looked at the room with astonishment. The smile on their faces had gradually disappeared and was replaced by a deep shock. Bailey Hongzhuang continued to refine the energy in her body. She also felt the aura of Xia Jiqing and the others breaking through. She couldn't help but feel happy for them. The 5 blood ginseng fruits had made a great contribution to their team. In one day, the strength of their team had improved a lot. The Orange Realm and the Red Realm were 2 different stages. The higher the cultivation, the more energy needed to break through. Therefore, her breakthrough speed was naturally not as fast as Xia Jiqing and the others. However, she had made a certain improvement when she was cultivating in the Tiangang sect. Now, with the power of the blood ginseng fruit, she could also go up a level. However, she always paid more attention to the stability of her foundation. It was precisely because of this that when her aura reached the critical point of a breakthrough, she did not rush to break through. Instead, she suppressed it slightly in order to stabilize her foundation. As the head of an aristocratic family in her previous life, she was very clear about the importance of having a solid foundation. Only with a solid foundation could one go further on the path of cultivation in the future. Boom! Bailey Hongzhuang finally broke through to the third level of the Orange Realm. Her aura was even more powerful than before. After feeling the strength of this aura, the cultivators who had been mocking Bailey Hongzhuang for not being able to break through shut their mouths at this moment. Chapter 1286. At this moment, all the cultivators in Xianming City were speechless. Although they did not know which dynasty Bailey Hongzhuang was from, it was undeniable that Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest had gone out. There would be cultivators breaking through in the city from time to time, but those were rare cases. It was the first time they had seen a team breaking through together, and not just by one rank. That night, many cultivators were curiously watching the movements of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. They just wanted to know what kind of realm their strength could reach. Compared to the shock of the cultivators in Xianming City, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest did not know how much shock they had caused to others. They were still in seclusion, focusing all their attention on cultivation. The 2 consecutive battles had given them a deeper understanding of cultivation, and at the same time, they had a better understanding of their martial skills. Every battle was an extremely rich experience. As long as they could absorb this experience, it would be of great help to them. 3 days later, when Bailey Hongzhuang opened her eyes, she felt refreshed. Her injuries had completely healed, and she was at her peak. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang had exited her cultivation state, Xiao He and Xiao Bai immediately jumped to Bailey Hongzhuang's side, their faces filled with joy. "Congratulations, Master, on breaking through." Bailey Hongzhuang's face was filled with a bright smile. "The effect of the blood ginseng fruit is amazing. It's even better than the blood ginseng fruit in the outside world." Even she was extremely amazed by this. She was already at Orange Realm level 2. Even if the effect of the blood ginseng fruit was amazing, she could only break through to Orange Realm level 4 at most. However, now that she had broken through to Orange Realm level 5, such a breakthrough in strength was too shocking. The origin energy in this small world is twice as rich as the outside world. The blood ginseng fruit has always been growing here, so it absorbs more origin energy than the blood ginseng fruit in the outside world. Naturally, the effect is stronger. After hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Xiao He and Xiao Bai immediately understood the crux of the matter. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. This small world is indeed a good place. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but look at Baisher. Speaking of which, White Lion was the greatest contributor. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was looking at Baisher, Xiao He spoke up. Baisher reached a state of breakthrough after eating a few demon crystals. He is now in a deep sleep. Bailey Hongzhuang's black phoenix eyes were filled with a hint of understanding. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. The last time Baisher had broken through, he had also fallen into a deep sleep. However, he did not know how long Baisher would be asleep for. Have Jiqing and the others come out? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. When she was in seclusion, she did not know what had happened outside. If Jiqing and the others came out, then they could continue on their journey. Now that they were much stronger than before, they would be able to hunt demon beasts more easily if they went to the forest again. Xiao Bai shook her head and said, "They haven't come out yet, so it should take them a little longer." I see. Speaking of which, her cultivation level was very high, so the speed at which she refined energy was relatively fast. In comparison, the speed of Xia Jiqing and the others was a little slower. Chapter 1287. When Bailey Hongzhuang placed the rations in front of Xiao He and Xiao Bai, she was surprised to find that Xiao He and Xiao Bai did not look happy at all. On the contrary, the two little fellows looked very disappointed. Bailey Hongzhuang's inky black phoenix eyes were filled with a trace of doubt. She was very surprised. Usually, these two little guys didn't know the taste of worry. What happened today? Xiao He, Xiao Bai, what happened to make you unhappy? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Xiao He and Xiao Bai shook their heads in unison. In reality, they were very depressed. During the 3 days that their master had been in closed-door cultivation, they had also been cultivating. However, they had not been able to achieve any results. In the end, they could only helplessly conclude that their cultivation had not improved at all. Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but frown when she saw Xiao He and Xiao Bai's expressions. She reached out her hand and patted the two little fellows' heads. Her voice also became gentler. What happened? If you believe me, then tell me. As Xiao He and Xiao Bai's master, she did not even know about the two little fellows' worries. She was not a good master at all. Xiao He and Xiao Bai's faces were filled with anxiety when they heard Bailey Hongzhuang's words. Master, of course we believe you. Bailey Hongzhuang was their master. How could they keep secrets from their master? However, when they thought about how their cultivation had stagnated and how they would not be able to help their master in the future and might even become a burden to her, they could not accept it from the bottom of their hearts. If their cultivation remained stagnant, given the speed at which their master's power was increasing, it would not be long before they would become contract beasts that could only be used as ornaments. Then tell me about your troubles. Bailey Hongzhuang placed Xiao He and Xiao Bai on her lap. Even though these two little fellows were usually very annoying, it was because of their existence that her life had always been so lively. After all, these two little fellows had transmigrated together with her. If it had not been for these two little fellows by her side, she might not even have understood the chaos ring's function. Xiao He and Xiao Bai were very touched when they sensed Bailey Hongzhuang's gentleness. Even though they found it hard to talk about this matter, they felt that there was nothing that they could not say to Bailey Hongzhuang. Our cultivation has been stagnant. Little Black lowered his head. His round and adorable smiling face was now filled with deep dejection. The feeling of being unable to increase her cultivation no matter how hard she tried, she had felt despair. It's useless no matter how hard we try to cultivate. Xiao Bai sighed as well. It was at its wit's end in this situation. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly understood. She had previously paid attention to Xiao He and Xiao Bai's cultivation. In the beginning, when Xiao He and Xiao Bai had been cultivating, their powers had been constantly increasing. However, recently, there had been no movement at all. I remember that it had been effective in the past. When did your cultivation begin to stagnate? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Back in the Azure Water Academy, she had brought Xiao He and Xiao Bai to the cultivation pagoda to cultivate. At that time, their cultivation speed had not been slow at all. Chapter 1288. Bailey Hongzhuang's delicate and beautiful face was filled with doubt. Her deep black eyes flashed with wisdom as she pondered. Bailey Hongzhuang kept thinking, there must be something wrong with this. Xiao He and Xiao Bai had been by her side all this while and nothing had happened. It shouldn't be caused by external forces. This was a little strange. How are you cultivating now? The elemental energy in your body hasn't increased? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Xiao He and Xiao Bai nodded in unison. No matter how we cultivate, our elemental energy hasn't increased at all. Bailey Hongzhuang felt a little helpless when she heard that. This feeling was actually the same as when Bailey Hongzhuang was a good-for-nothing in the past. No matter how they cultivated, there was no use. She just didn't know how this happened to Xiao He and Xiao Bai. We haven't come into contact with anything special during this period. Logically speaking, this shouldn't be the case, Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. No matter how she thought about it, she couldn't find the reason. It was really strange. Why don't you two cultivate for a while? I'll take a look at the situation. After thinking for a long time, Bailey Hongzhuang still couldn't come up with a solution. She could only think of this method to give it a try. Xiao He and Xiao Bai looked at each other. They also wanted to change this situation. Moreover, their master was a miracle doctor. If there was a problem in their bodies, they believed that their master would definitely diagnose it for them. Xiao He and Xiao Bai immediately started cultivating. Bailey Hongzhuang sat behind the two beasts and extended her mental strength. It split into two strands and entered Xiao He and Xiao Bai's bodies respectively. However, after Bailey Hongzhuang's inspection, she found that Xiao He and Xiao Bai's cultivation didn't have any problems. It couldn't be more normal. After exiting the cultivation state, Xiao He and Xiao Bai were dumbfounded. No matter how they cultivated previously, there wasn't any effect. How could it suddenly work now? How could this be? Our previous cultivation clearly had no effect at all. Xiao He's eyes were filled with astonishment. How did the situation suddenly change? Xiao Bai shook her head. I don't know. Could it be because Master checked it? The man and the two beasts looked at each other in confusion. Try again and see if you can succeed, Bailey Hongzhuang said. This was too strange. No matter what, as long as Xiao He and Xiao Bai could cultivate normally, it was a good thing. Xiao He and Xiao Bai nodded like chicks pecking at rice. They couldn't wait to confirm it. As long as they could successfully cultivate it, their previous problems would no longer exist. Xiao He and Xiao Bai entered the cultivation state again. Bailey Hongzhuang sized up Xiao He and Xiao Bai. She sincerely hoped that Xiao He and Xiao Bai would be able to reduce their troubles. Not long after, Xiao He and Xiao Bai opened their eyes again. Their eyes were filled with excitement. Master, we can cultivate successfully again. Xiao He's voice was filled with unconcealable excitement. Previously, when they couldn't cultivate, they only felt that their entire life was dark. Fortunately, things had taken a turn for the better. Everything was back to normal. Bailey Hongzhuang's peerlessly beautiful face also revealed a joyful smile. Her gaze became even gentler. It's good as long as you can cultivate. Now, can the two of you eat? Bailey Hongzhuang said with a smile. Chapter 1289. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Xiao He and Xiao Bai's eyes lit up in an instant, and they immediately rushed over. In the past 2 days, they had been distressed by the problem of cultivation, and they were not even interested in eating. Now they could finally eat with peace of mind. Looking at the two beasts eating, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but chuckle. In this state, they were the real Xiao He and Xiao Bai. Seeing that Xia Jiqing and others would not be able to end their retreat for a while, Bailey Hongzhuang's mind moved and she entered the chaos ring. She had been quite busy these past few days, and the time she had spent on inscription techniques was also relatively less. However, she had never given up, and as long as she had time, she would come to train. When Bailey Hongzhuang entered the chaos ring, she suddenly found that the closed stone room had opened again. Looking at this scene, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes could not help but fill with a hint of joy. Since the last time the stone room door about inscription opened, no other doors had opened. Now, it should be due to her breakthrough in strength that another stone room was opened. Her exquisite face was filled with an expectant smile, and she didn't know what kind of things were in the stone room this time. Xiao He and Xiao Bai also entered the chaos ring after hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's voice. Originally, they stayed in the chaos ring every day, but since entering the small world, they had been staying outside and had never gone in again. Another stone room door opened. Xiao He rubbed her hands, and her eyes were full of excitement. Everything in the chaos ring was a treasure, and they were really curious about what kind of treasure it would be this time. It must be a treasure, haha. Xiao Bai was also very excited. When they stayed in the chaos ring before, all the stone room doors here were closed, and they didn't know what was here. It wasn't until the owner arrived that the doors of the stone room opened one by one. So far, the things in each stone room were very precious treasures. It was because of this that they were looking forward to it. Master, let's go in and have a look. Xiao He looked at Bailey Hongzhuang excitedly. Every time the stone room door opened, she had a feeling of looking for treasures, and she couldn't wait. Looking at Xiao He and Xiao Bai's excited appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang also felt funny. After experiencing cultivation, the two little fellows seemed to have become even livelier. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly opened the door of the stone room, but the scene inside was obviously different from what Bailey Hongzhuang, Xiao He, and Xiao Bai had imagined. Because this was an extremely spacious stone room, the layout of the stone room's layout, it was very familiar. Bailey Hongzhuang looked around and found that this stone room was not the same as the first stone room.
On a high platform in the middle of the room, a book of martial skills was placed quietly. Xiao He and Xiao Bai's eyes flashed with suspicion. Even though the things inside were different from what they had imagined, they thought that it would not be a simple thing. Just like the demon summoning scripture, in the first stone room, that was a forbidden technique, and an average cultivator would never be able to see it in their lifetime. However, I wonder what kind of martial skill it is this time. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly stepped forward and took the book of martial skills.
Chapter 1290. Yin-Yang 8 Trigrams Formation. Bailey Hongzhuang's black phoenix eyes were filled with a thick color of astonishment. She didn't understand. The Yin-Yang 8 Trigrams Formation was a very famous formation, but what kind of martial skill would be called the Yin-Yang 8 Trigrams Formation? Just by hearing the name, one could tell that this martial skill was not simple. Thinking about it, the things in the Chaos Ring were never simple. After carefully reading the contents of the Yin-Yang 8 Trigrams Formation, the confusion on Bailey Hongzhuang's face slowly turned into understanding. It turned out that Xiao He and Xiao Bai's abilities had been stagnant. It was not because something had happened to them, but because of the Chaos Ring's intention. Not for anything else, but to make Xiao He and Xiao Bai stay at Orange Realm level 5 with her. The cultivation method of the Yin-Yang 8 Trigrams Formation required them to stay at Orange Realm level 5. The most unique thing was that it was a combination skill. By cultivating with Xiao He and Xiao Bai, she and her beasts would finally combine into one, unleashing an even stronger combat power. Xiao He and Xiao Bai would form the Yin-Yang 8 Trigrams Formation, while she would absorb the energy of the Yin-Yang 8 Trigrams Formation. Thinking about it, the combination of 3 Orange Realm level 5 beasts would increase their abilities by quite a bit. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes shone with indescribable excitement. She had heard of this combination skill before, but it had long disappeared from the Xingxian continent due to its difficulty. Not to mention the rarity of this combination skill, it was already very difficult for the cultivator and the contracted beast to reach 100% trust and compatibility. Moreover, it was not easy to make the beasts and the cultivator stay at the same level. Therefore, she had never seen a cultivator perform the combination skill. She did not expect to see the combination skill today. It was a pleasant surprise. After hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's explanation, Xiao He and Xiao Bai both let out a sigh of relief. They thought that something serious had happened, but it turned out to be because of this. They were relieved. In that case, we can practice the same martial skill as master. Xiao He's eyes shone brightly like little stars. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. We have to work hard to learn this Yin-Yang 8 Trigrams Formation. This is a killer move. If he encountered a situation where he was no match for his opponent, this Yin-Yang 8 Trigrams Formation could be a martial technique that could turn the tide of the battle. Now that he had come to the small world, the surroundings could be said to be filled with danger. Danger could appear at any time. The Sky Universe dynasty was only a medium-sized dynasty, and they were already in such a difficult situation. What's more, they would encounter cultivators from large dynasties in the future, which would be even more dangerous. It was naturally best to take advantage of the current situation to increase his strength. Xiao Bai nodded repeatedly. We will definitely work hard to cultivate. Then, Bailey Hongzhuang sat on the bed and held the book while Xiao He and Xiao Bai sat on her shoulders. The three of them began to look at the book. While looking at the book, the three of them also began to try to cultivate. Time gradually passed. Bailey Hongzhuang, Xiao He, and Xiaobai concentrated on cultivating the Yinyang 8 trigrams formation. After understanding the reason behind it, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but feel that the combination skill was really magical. She had never seen such a magical method before, and her eyes lit up. Chapter 1291. Bailey Hongzhuang, Xiao He, and Xiao Bai had been concentrating on cultivating the Qian Kun 8 trigrams formation. Because of the uniqueness of the body fusion technique, the way it operated was different from ordinary martial arts. Therefore, the speed of this cultivation was a bit slower than usual. Obviously, it was not something that could be cultivated in a short period of time. After 3 days, Gong Xiaoqing and Dong Fangyu exited from their cultivation state. The two walked outside the room to look around. After seeing that there was no movement in the other 3 rooms, they walked back into the room. It was taboo to be disturbed during a retreat. Therefore, they had to wait for everyone to finish their retreat. Bailey Hongzhuang, who was cultivating martial arts in the room, felt the movements of Gong Xiaoqing and Dong Fangyu and knew that the two had finished their retreat. However, she did not immediately go out. Because there was no use for the 3 of them to gather. They had to wait for Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu to finish their retreat. Xiao He and Xiao Bai were gnawing on dry food while comprehending the uniqueness of the body fusion technique. They had to admit that this kind of body fusion technique was really complicated to cultivate. Even some meridians that were not used normally had to be circulated. It was just that these meridians had not been used for many years. There were many impurities in the meridians, and spirit energy could not pass through. Therefore, if they wanted to learn this body fusion technique, they had to first open up the meridians in their body before they could cultivate. Opening up the meridians was a very taxing and exhausting thing. Therefore, they had put all their attention on opening up the meridians these days. Bailey Hongzhuang also focused her spirit energy on opening up the meridians. These meridians were very small. If she wanted to open them up, not only would she need to consume a lot of spirit energy, she also had to control the flow of spirit energy. Otherwise, if there was too little spirit energy, the meridians would not be able to open up. If there was too much spirit energy, the meridians would likely be damaged or even broken. Speaking of which, this kind of feeling was very helpless. However, Bailey Hongzhuang did not feel bored because of this. As long as it was a powerful martial arts technique, it would take a lot of time to cultivate. Thinking back to when she was cultivating the sacred azure flame palm, she also spent a lot of effort and needed constant practice to be able to use it successfully. Now, because of the experience of her previous life, she was able to master the sacred azure flame palm in a very short period of time. This was the resource that belonged to her. Not long after, Bailey Hongzhuang noticed that Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu had finished their retreat and stopped cultivating. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly walked out of the house. Little Black and Little White were still sitting on her shoulders. In the past few days, they had become more accustomed to this position. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang come out, Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu's faces were filled with smiles. Hongzhuang, you finished. You, Hongzhuang Zhuangs and Hongzhuang S's, and Hongzhuang Hongzong, and Yang, and you. And ye, you. Xian you, S. Of theirs of this. Shui Fang you, of. The energy of this blood ginseng fruit is too strong. I didn't expect it to improve my strength so much. Dong Fangyu's elegant face was filled with a spring breeze smile. As soon as he saw the blood ginseng fruit, he knew that this was a good opportunity to improve his strength. However, even though he had expected this improvement was still too shocking. Chapter 1292. Although I have never seen the blood ginseng fruit, I have a certain understanding of its effect. I think this should be the influence of the richness of the small world, which is why the effect is so good. Gong Xiaoqing's cold and handsome face showed a wise look. The blood ginseng fruit in the outside world did not have such an effect. What cultivation level have you broken through now? Bailey Hongzhuang asked with a smile. With a blood ginseng fruit, her strength directly rose from the 2nd order of the Red Realm to the 5th order of the Red Realm. Gong Shaoqing and the others' strength would have a great improvement. Xia Jiqing's face was full of excitement. I am now at the 9th order of the Red Realm. Feeling the power in her body was completely different from before, she only felt that she was much stronger than before. In just a few days, from the 4th order of the Red Realm to the 9th order of the Red Realm, this was a rocket-like improvement. Even if it happened to her, she still found it hard to believe, because the improvement was too amazing. Bai Junyu smiled and nodded. I am now at the 9th order of the Red Realm. Compared to their previous cultivation, their combat effectiveness had greatly improved. Even if they encountered a team like the Sky Empire again, they would not be afraid. Congratulations. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. The smiles on Bai Junyu and Xia Jiqing's faces became more and more brilliant. Now they only felt that coming to the small world was the right choice. If they did not come to the small world, but cultivated in the outside world, they did not know how long it would take to rise to the 9th order of the Red Realm. Dongfang Yu and Gong Shaoqing's faces also showed joy. Now they were a team. The improvement of their teammates' strength was the improvement of their team. Dongfang, what are your cultivation levels now? Bai Junyu asked aloud. His and Xia Jiqing's cultivation levels were lower than Dongfang Yu's. Presumably, Dongfang Yu and Gong Shaoqing were now at the 1st order of the Orange Realm. Dongfang Yu smiled faintly. We are also at the 9th order of the Red Realm. Hearing this, Bai Junyu's face flashed with surprise. You are also at the 9th order of the Red Realm? Bailey Hongzhuang explained aloud. Dongfang Yu and Gong Shaoqing suffered serious internal injuries before, and part of the energy of the blood ginseng fruit was used to heal them. As soon as these words came out, Bai Junyu and Xia Jiqing immediately understood. I see. Heavenly treasures were often able to heal injuries. If it weren't for the blood ginseng fruit, Dongfang Yu and Gong Shaoqing's injuries wouldn't have healed so quickly. The energy of the blood ginseng fruit has healed our injuries. Although we are now at level 9 of the Red Realm, we are not far from level 1 of the Orange Realm. With that, everyone looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and asked, Hongzhuang, what's your cultivation level now? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Orange level 5. Everyone nodded. The Orange and Red Realms were different levels. Orange Realms required a lot more energy to advance than Red Realms. Therefore, it was reasonable for Bailey Hongzhuang to level up to Orange level 5. However, no one knew that this was the result of Bailey Hongzhuang deliberately suppressing it. Previously, when she was in the Bloodground Abyss, her cultivation had risen very quickly. She needed some time to stabilize her foundation. Now that he had consumed the blood ginseng fruit, his improvement was even faster. Chapter 1293. After seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and the others come out, the cultivators of Xianming City felt very helpless. From the time when Bailey Hongzhuang and the others entered the city, everyone thought they were weak, but now they were strong in everyone's eyes. It had only been a few days. In the past few days, the cultivators of Xianming City only felt that they had been greatly stimulated. They had been watching Bailey Hongzhuang and the others break through, and break through again, one after another. Since when did breaking through become such a simple thing, so simple that it was unbelievable? In just a few days, the cultivation of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had completely improved by a level, which constantly stimulated their hearts. Now they only felt envious and jealous of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. They only hated that they were not a member of their team and did not have the luck to obtain heaven and earth treasures. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang again after freshening up, they were no longer embarrassed like before. On the contrary, their outstanding appearance was now more energetic, and their spirit was completely different from before. I don't know which dynasty this group of guys came from. What kind of luck did they have to be able to suddenly improve their cultivation so much? I have never seen it before. It can only be said that they are lucky. When can I have such luck? This feeling is simply like a pie falling from the sky. Since we have all come out, why don't we set off? Xia Jiqing said excitedly, I can't wait to try my strength. Her strength had suddenly improved so much, she also needed to test it out. Looking at Xia Jiqing's excited appearance, everyone looked at each other and smiled. It had to be said that Xia Jiqing had a child's temperament, but it was precisely this that made people happy. Well, let's set off. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. They had also stayed in Xianming City for a while, and it was time to set off. Everyone packed up and immediately continued to walk towards the center of the small world. Xiao He and Xiao Bai sat on Bailey Hongzhuang's shoulders. They were now free and unrestrained. The most troubling problem had been solved, and they could also practice martial arts with their master. They were very happy. After seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was not holding Baisher, Xia Jiqing could not help but have a look of doubt in her eyes. Hongzhuang had always been holding Baisher. For this reason, Xiao He and Xiao Bai were extremely unhappy. What was going on today? Hongzhuang, where did Baisher go? Why didn't I see him? Xia asked doubtfully. With Xia Jiqing's voice, Gong Shaoqing and the others' eyes were all looking at Bailey Hongzhuang. Now they were used to having three beasts with them, as if they were a member of the team. Now that Baisher was not there, they always felt that something was wrong. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Baisher is about to start breaking through. He is now sleeping, and it is estimated that he will not wake up in a short time. Xia Jiqing and the others suddenly smiled and said, "This time the strength of our team has greatly increased. Not only did we break through, but Baisher is also breaking through. This trip to the small world is more and more exciting." Everyone moved forward with a smile, quickly walking into the forest, just to test the improvement of their strength. Chapter 1294. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others shuttled through the forest. Perhaps because of the excitement of the breakthrough, they were not as nervous as before in the face of the surprise attack of the monsters. On the contrary, they were eager to try. One by one, the wicked beasts fell under the swords of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. With the improvement of their strength, everyone found that their yuanqi, which would have disappeared in a short time, had increased a lot. Not only that, their control of martial arts had also begun to improve, and they could perform more smoothly. The improvement of strength is really different. Xia Jiqing's face was filled with a joyful smile. Compared to before, her speed of hunting monsters today was much faster. After a while, her strength had soared so much that she felt a little unaccustomed. Bai Junyu and the others looked at each other and smiled. For cultivators, improving their strength was the happiest thing. Hongzhuang, if next time a cultivator asks us which dynasty we are from, how should we answer? Bai Junyu suddenly thought of this question and immediately turned to look at Bailey Hongzhuang. In this small world, almost all the teams would mention the name of their dynasty, just like the last time the cultivators of the Sky Dynasty asked them. They were not from any dynasty, so it was better to unify their answers in the future. The Dark Phoenix eyes flashed with a touch of thought. If they said they were from the Tian Gang sect, it would be difficult to convince other teams because they were really few in number. On the contrary, doing so might cause quite a bit of trouble. Last time, didn't the cultivators of the Sky Dynasty mistakenly think that we are from the Tian Gang dynasty? I think this name is good. Xia Jiqing said. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Why don't we say we are from the Tian Gang dynasty? This name was very good. No matter how the other party understood it, there was no problem with their name. Gong Shaoqing and the others looked at each other and immediately nodded. They also felt that this name was very good. Then it's settled, Gong Shaoqing said. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others walked all the way. Suddenly, there was a movement on the left. Apparently, there were teams from other dynasties. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other four gripped their weapons tightly. In this small world, fighting was a common occurrence. The slightest wrong word could trigger a fight between the two teams. During this period of time, they had seen many such situations. With a glance, the team that had arrived was also from a medium-sized empire. However, they looked extremely unfamiliar. It seemed that they had never interacted with each other before. The other party obviously did not intend to be their enemy, so Bailey Hongzhuang and the others no longer paid attention to them and continued to walk forward. Right at this moment, a pleasantly surprised voice suddenly sounded out, "Miss Bailey, I didn't expect to actually see you at the test competition." Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but stop. Xia Jiqing and the others all looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Did Hongzhuang know this cultivator? Bailey Hongzhuang also looked at the person who spoke in surprise. In her impression, she didn't know him. However, the other party had called out her name. Obviously, he knew her. However, no matter how Bailey Hongzhuang thought about it, she didn't remember that she had seen him before. The other party was just a cultivator from a small empire, but Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman were actually trying to curry favor with him. This was a disgrace to their Snow Origin Empire. In this small world, strength had always been respected. Only cultivators from small empires fawned over cultivators from medium empires. They had never seen cultivators from medium empires trying to close the distance between them. Therefore, when Yuan Jixin and Yi Zichen introduced them, they did not take it to heart. Bailey Hongzhuang was Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman's friend, but not their friend, so they didn't need to care. If others don't want to talk to us, I don't want to talk to them either. Xia Jiqing's face was full of resentment. She hated the other party's face the most. It was really disgusting. Bailey Hongzhuang patted Xia Jiqing's shoulder and said with a smile, "We don't know the other cultivators at all. Why bother with them? They are just a group of insignificant strangers. Only Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman were their friends. As for the others, they could just treat them as if they didn't exist." It was not worth it to get angry over some unimportant cultivators. Hearing this, Xia Jiqing nodded slightly, and the original dissatisfaction faded a little. Chapter 1297. After Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman separated from Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, a trace of dissatisfaction appeared on their faces. "Zhu Weicheng, why did you treat them like that just now? That was too rude." Yuan Xiaoman had always had a straightforward temper. Even she could feel the disdain of Zhu Weicheng and the others, let alone Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Fortunately, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had a good temper. Otherwise, they might have caused trouble. Zhu Weicheng was already very dissatisfied with Yuan Xiaoman and Yuan Jixin's attitude towards the cultivators from the Tiangang Empire. Now that Yuan Xiaoman dared to criticize him, he naturally would not back down. "I say, Yuan Xiaoman, aren't you a little too spineless? We are a team from a medium-sized empire. Don't you think it's too embarrassing to coax cultivators from a small empire?" Hearing Zhu Weicheng's words, Ren Wantong and the others nodded. "With our status, we don't need to be so polite to them." Yuan Xiaoman was even more furious. "What do you know? Bailey Hongzhuang is a very powerful cultivator. After so many years, how many cultivators had obtained the Bloodground Abyss inheritance? For Bailey Hongzhuang to be able to obtain the inheritance, it could be seen how amazing her talent was. Such a cultivator would almost certainly become a powerhouse in the Xingxian continent in the future." Zhu Weicheng sneered, "Just a cultivator from a small empire, how amazing can her talent be? It's already good enough that she can protect herself from dying in this pocket world." In Zhu Weicheng's opinion, one's status determined one's future. In the history of the Xingxian continent, the majority of powerhouses came from extraordinary backgrounds. Only a small number of powerhouses came from remote places. He didn't believe that this Bailey Hongzhuang could be one of the few cultivators in the world. "Yuan Xiaoman, since we are in this pocket world, we represent the entire Snow Origin Empire. I think you should be more apprehensive about the Snow Origin Empire's reputation in the future," Ren Wantong said slowly. Hearing Ren Wantong's words, Yuan Xiaoman became even angrier. These guys actually thought that she was embarrassing the Snow Origin Empire by contacting Miss Bailey? These guys don't know anything at all. Just when Yuan Xiaoman was about to refute the crowd, Yuan Jixin stopped her. Yuan Jixin winked at Yuan Xiaoman, interrupting her next words. There weren't many cultivators who knew that Miss Bailey had obtained the inheritance of the Bloodground Abyss. As Miss Bailey's friends, they naturally couldn't spread the news of Miss Bailey. It was fine if the others didn't believe him. They had been teammates for the past 2 years, but they couldn't be considered as close friends. In the future, when they left the small world, they would go their separate ways. There was no need to care too much about it. Chapter 1298. It was obvious that the various forces had done a lot of preparation when they constructed the small worlds. This was how the assessment had been conducted for so many years, so the distance between the cities was considered. As long as they did not encounter any major incidents along the way, most cultivators would be able to reach the next city before nightfall. The number of demonic beasts in the small worlds was shocking. Even though the cultivators had been trying their best to hunt the demonic beasts, the number of demonic beasts seemed endless. Just like the great battle back then, it was too difficult to kill all the demonic beasts. This was probably the most powerful aspect of the demonic beasts. In the following days, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest went out to hunt demonic beasts during the day and returned to the city at night. Their days were quite fulfilling. As their strength increased a little, some of the troublesome matters also decreased a little. Kind people were bullied, kind horses were ridden. The cultivators in the small worlds paid more attention to this point. As such, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest were happy and relaxed. They hunted demonic beasts every day, and the speed at which their points increased was not bad. Through Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest's research, they realized that the empire's teams that they had encountered so far were from small and medium-sized empires. It was obvious that the empires of different levels would appear in different areas. Perhaps this was done on purpose by the various forces to be fair. After all, if the cultivators from small empires encountered cultivators from large empires at the beginning, there would be no other possibility other than failure. It was obvious that it was better for them to encounter each other later. Moreover, it was best for the various empires to meet each other. Although it was inevitable that all the empires would meet at the end, it still gave everyone the most time. A month later, on this day, Bailey Hongzhuang's group of 5 also walked into the city before nightfall. Now, they were already used to such a situation. However, when Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest entered the city, they realized that the situation in the city was different from usual. This was because there were very few cultivators in the city at first glance. This was extremely strange. During this period of time, every city that they had visited was filled with cultivators, and it was rare to see such an empty situation. There's a commotion in the central square of the city. Why don't you go and take a look? I heard that the cultivators from the Green Firmament Empire are teaching the cultivators from the Snow Origin Empire a lesson. I wonder what kind of feud there is between the two empires. It's such a big commotion. Since we have nothing to do here, we might as well go and take a look. Chapter 1299. Qin Shao Dynasty. Xia Jiqing's face was full of surprise. Did I hear it wrong? Are they talking about the Qin Shao Dynasty? Bai Junyu turned his head to look at Xia Jiqing, his handsome face was also full of surprise and confusion. I also heard the Qin Shao Dynasty, I shouldn't have heard it wrong. Gong Shaoqing's face had already sunk when he heard the words Qin Shao Dynasty. It's really a small world. I didn't expect to meet them here. Among all the dynasties, the Green Firmament Dynasty was the one they hated the most. It was without a doubt the number one. If they could not wait to destroy the entire Qin Shao Dynasty. Snow Origin Dynasty? Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly. How could the cultivators of the Snow Origin Dynasty be involved with the Qin Shao Dynasty? The distance between the Snow Origin Dynasty and the Qin Shao Dynasty could be said to be extremely far. The hatred between the two should have been formed after coming to the small world. However, what was surprising was that they actually knew the teams of both dynasties, which was very interesting. The cultivators of the Qin Shao Dynasty really don't stop wherever they go. They are so arrogant, it's really disgusting. Xiao Hei's face was full of disgust. Thinking back, it hated the Qing Shao dynasty to the core. It did not expect to meet them again. They want to teach the cultivators of the Snow Origin dynasty a lesson. Doesn't this mean that Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman are also there? Xiao Bai frowned. It had a good feeling about Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman. It would be a pity if they died in the hands of the annoying people of the Qing Shao dynasty. Let's go and see. Bailey Hongzhuang's face sank. Although she had only met Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman once, because of the existence of the Yuan family, they were friends. What's more, Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman gave her a good feeling. Xia Jiqing and the others nodded. Since such a thing had happened, they naturally had to go and see. I'd like to see how arrogant the Qing Shao dynasty is. Xia Jiqing said angrily. When she thought of the ugly face of the Qing Shao dynasty, she hated that she could not kill this group of people. The three men, Dong Fengyu, Gong Shaoqing, and Bai Junyu, fell into silence. The events of the past were still vivid in their minds. That scene of helplessness and struggle was something they would never forget for the rest of their lives. He had thought that he would never meet him again in the future. Who would have thought that he would actually meet him in this small world? Perhaps this was fate. The heavens had given them a chance to take revenge. Central Square. There were 8 cultivators standing in the huge square. The other 8 cultivators were lying on the ground. Their bodies and faces were stained with blood. It was obvious that they were severely injured. Nangong Yujin, we have no grievances, why do you humiliate us like this? Zhu Weiqing's face was filled with anger. He did not know what was going on. The cultivators of the Qing Shao dynasty seemed to have identified them and attacked them without any reason. The Snow Origin dynasty was considered to be quite powerful among the middle-tier dynasties, but there was still a gap between them and the Green Firmament dynasty. They had no intention of offending the Qing Shao dynasty. After all, they would not offend a powerful team if they were not confident enough. Unfortunately, they had no idea what was going on. Chapter 1300. Listening to Nangong Yujin's answer, Zhu Weiqing almost spat out blood. What kind of strange reason was this? Even if he was arrogant, he had never been arrogant in front of the cultivators of the Green Firmament dynasty. What do you want? Zhu Weiqing's eyes were full of resentment. As an excellent cultivator of the Snow Origin dynasty, he had always been admired by everyone. When had he ever suffered such humiliation? The most abhorrent thing was that the cultivators of the Green Firmament dynasty had deliberately led them to the central Guangzhou. Almost all the cultivators in the city were attracted by such a situation to see them make a fool of themselves. What kind of humiliation was this? Instead of being humiliated like this, he would rather be killed. That would be a clean death. Now that he felt the mocking eyes of the crowd, he just wanted to find a hole to hide in. Sooner or later, you will suffer retribution. Yuan Jixin's face was also full of anger. It was very normal for cultivators to fight, but the other party had poisoned them. If they had lost the battle, then they would have accepted it. After all, their skills were not as good as others. Now that they had been defeated in such a dirty way, even if he died, he would not be able to rest in peace. Nangong Yujin sneered, slowly walked in front of Yuan Jixin, and directly stepped on his abdomen. I heard that you know Bailey Hongzhuang. As soon as these words came out, Yuan Jixin's face could not help but change a little. He never thought that this matter would involve Bailey Hongzhuang. Yuan Jixin looked at Nangong Yujin in surprise. He did not know whether Nangong Yujin and Bailey Hongzhuang were enemies or friends. After Zhu Weiqing heard Nangong Yujin's words, he connected them to Nangong Yujin's arrogant words. Soon, he figured out the key to this. Could it be that Nangong Yujin knew that he was very arrogant in front of Bailey Hongzhuang? With Bailey Hongzhuang's stunning appearance, Nangong Yujin was most likely an admirer of Bailey Hongzhuang. In this way, Zhu Weiqing had already figured out all the connections within a short period of time. At this moment, he was even more regretful. If he knew that Nangong Yujin was Bailey Hongzhuang's admirer, he would not have treated Bailey Hongzhuang that way. Nangong Yujin, we are friends with Bailey Hongzhuang. Do you think we are enemies? Zhu Weiqing quickly said. Listening to Zhu Weiqing's words, Yuan Jixin could not help but frown. He felt that the relationship between Nangong Yujin and Bailey Hongzhuang was not friendly. Otherwise, Nangong Yujin would not have stepped on him when he knew that he knew Bailey Hongzhuang. Then, Zhu Weiqing's words were no different from adding fuel to the fire. Nangong Yu stomped on Zhu Weiqing's face. I just don't like Bailey Hongzhuang. I don't like Bailey Hongzhuang's friends. Nangong Yu's eyes were vicious. The woman she hated the most in her life was undoubtedly Bailey Hongzhuang. Because of Bailey Hongzhuang, Mo Yinjue turned a blind eye to her. She only felt that since Bailey Hongzhuang appeared, all her dignity was trampled on. Mo Yinjue knew that Bailey Hongzhuang had a sweetheart, but he still protected Bailey Hongzhuang. His disdain for her was tantamount to a sharp knife stabbing into her chest. Chapter 1301. Since the departure of Bailey Hongzhuang, Mo Yinjue had also left the Qing dynasty. In the following days, she never saw Mo Yinjue again. The man she had loved for a long time had disappeared from her sight. No matter how she searched, she could not find any news about Mo Yinjue. This made her disheartened, and at the same time, her hatred for Bailey Hongzhuang grew stronger. Not only that, but because of Bailey Hongzhuang, the Qing dynasty had also undergone tremendous changes. Nangong Aochen died, and his death caused a plague. Many members of the royal family were buried with him. She and Nangong Yujin were lucky. They had not had much interaction with Nangong Aochen, so they were spared. Not only that, but her father loved Nangong Aochen too much. When Nangong Aochen was sick, he often visited him. As a result, her father was also infected with the plague. Now that the Qing dynasty had changed, she and Nangong Yujin were not as good as before. And all of this was thanks to Bailey Hongzhuang. Long ago, she secretly vowed that if one day she could see Bailey Hongzhuang again, she would kill Bailey Hongzhuang with her own hands to vent the hatred in her heart. However, she also knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was the wife of Di Beichen, the young lord of Tiangang's sect. They were in two completely different worlds, and the possibility of meeting again in the future was very small. However, she did not expect that they would see Bailey Hongzhuang in the small world. Moreover, Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to appear here as a cultivator from a small dynasty. When she learned the news, she and Nangong Yujin could not hide their excitement. It was really God who gave them such a chance for revenge. Nangong Yu was even more proud. She knew that Bailey Hongzhuang's identity was not worthy of Di Beichen. Now it seemed that Bailey Hongzhuang had been abandoned by Di Beichen. Otherwise, Bailey Hongzhuang would not appear in the small world with such an identity. Listening to Nangong Yu's words, Zhu Weiqing's face was pale. This plot was not right. Why was it completely different from what he had thought before? Yuan Xiaoman looked at Zhu Weiqing angrily. She really did not know what Zhu Weiqing was doing. I have already calculated that if there is no problem, Bailey Hongzhuang will come to Yiqing City today. Do you think that Bailey Hongzhuang will come to save you? Nangong Yujin looked at Yuan Jixin with a sneer. Although he did not know how this guy knew Bailey Hongzhuang, with Bailey Hongzhuang's character, he thought that she would not stay out of this matter. At this moment, the cultivators of the Snow Origin dynasty came to a realization. It turned out that the cultivators of the Qing Shao dynasty were so eager to deal with them because they were using them as bait to lure Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Zhu Weiqing and the others' faces became ugly in an instant, and they looked angrily at Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman. If Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman did not know Bailey Hongzhuang, how could they have suffered such an unexpected disaster? Yuan Jixin, Yuan Xiaoman, it's all your fault. Ren Wantong said angrily. In the beginning, she did not have a good impression of Bailey Hongzhuang. She did not expect that now she would be implicated because of Bailey Hongzhuang. She was furious. We have nothing to do with Bailey Hongzhuang. If you want to catch someone, just catch Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman. Feng Mingzhi said.
Chapter 1302. As soon as Feng Mingzhi finished speaking, Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman's expressions instantly turned ugly. They never thought that Feng Mingzhi would say such a thing. However, what happened next made Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman even more disheartened. That's right, we don't know Bailey Hongzhuang at all. Only Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman know her. You just need to catch them. Ren Wantong hurriedly said. She had always been the pride of her family. When had she ever been wronged like this? Furthermore, she had been wronged because of a complete stranger. She did not want to die in Yechin City like this. Seeing that Feng Mingzhi and Ren Wantong had expressed their opinions, Zhu Weicheng and the Snow Origin Dynasty cultivators also expressed their opinions. In their opinion, this matter was originally caused by Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman. Naturally, Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman should be the ones to solve it. In just a short moment, Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman were betrayed by all their teammates. They simply could not believe that these were the companions whom they had spent the past 4 months with. In just a short moment, they had completely abandoned the two of them. All the affection they had for each other had disappeared without a trace. After feeling disheartened, Yuan Jixin could not help but smile self-deprecatingly. Come to think of it, this was what it meant to be heartless. Previously, they had overestimated their position in the team. In the face of disaster, they had fled separately. This saying was not wrong at all. The Snow Origin Dynasty cultivators actually betrayed their teammates just like that. This speed is really shocking. It's every man for himself. These guys' actions are very normal. I wonder who this Bailey Hongzhuang is. They've been talking about her for a long time, but I've never heard of her. The crowd discussed animatedly. All of this was exposed in front of everyone's eyes. The conversation between the two teams had not been hidden and they had heard it clearly. So far, the name they had heard the most was Bailey Hongzhuang's name. They were really curious as to who this Bailey Hongzhuang was. Looking at the confident looks of the cultivators from the Green Firmament Dynasty, it seemed that Bailey Hongzhuang would definitely come to Yechin City today. It's almost nighttime now. Logically speaking, most of the cultivator groups should have already entered the city. Could it be that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others have already arrived and are deliberately not showing up? Even if he doesn't show up, it's normal. The cultivators of the Green Firmament Dynasty are not easy to deal with. Since the Qing Dynasty had put on such a big show, they must have made enough preparations. This was simply a feast at Hongmen. If Bailey Hongzhuang appears, I'm afraid she won't be able to return. With a sneer on his face, Nangong Yujin bent down. Yuan Jixin, do you think Bailey Hongzhuang will come?
Chapter 1303. Listening to Yuan Jixin's words, Nangong Yujin sneered, "You want to die? It's not that simple." Yuan Xiaoman looked angrily at the cultivators of the Green Firmament Dynasty. She really did not expect these guys to be so despicable. The Green Firmament Dynasty was also a medium-sized dynasty. It was really amazing that they were so despicable. Nangong Yujin, we have said that we have nothing to do with Bailey Hongzhuang. Please let us go. Zhu Weicheng could not help but say. Even if their team lost Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman, it did not matter. After all, there were still 6 people left in the team, which was a bit stronger than the team of a small dynasty. If he were to die here today, then there would be no hope left. Nangong Yujin looked at Zhu Weicheng with disgust. Do you think I'm a fool? Regardless of whether Zhu Weicheng knew Bailey Hongzhuang or not, it was undeniable that this guy's behavior was really disgusting. Even he had an impulse to kill this guy directly. As Nangong Yujin's voice fell, the faces of Zhu Weicheng and Ren Wantong also became ugly. Even if they were telling the truth, the other party would not believe them. This was really depressing. Damn it, Yuan Jixin, Yuan Xiaoman, it's all your fault. Ren Wantong was about to die from anger. She really didn't know how she had been dragged into this unexpected disaster. It clearly had nothing to do with her, but now she had to stay here and endure this humiliation. It was really too depressing. Zhu Weicheng and the others also looked at Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman angrily. If it were not for them inexplicably contacting Bailey Hongzhuang, how could this happen now? The most important thing was that Bailey Hongzhuang was a cultivator from a small dynasty. It was so late now, and Bailey Hongzhuang had not yet come. It was very likely that she did not dare to come. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang really came, as a cultivator from a small dynasty, it was impossible for her to be the opponent of Nangong Yujin and the others. It was tantamount to sending herself to death. If Bailey Hongzhuang was killed by the cultivators of the Qing Shao dynasty, there was a high chance that they would not be able to escape the same fate. After all, if they were in his shoes, they wouldn't have chosen to let him go either. Yuan Xiaoman, who was already angry to the extreme, after hearing the words of Ren Wantong and the others, her face turned red with anger. What qualifications do you bunch of bastards have to talk about us? It's fine even if my brother and I die here. You guys deserve to die here. As early as when Ren Wantong and the others proposed to leave her and Yuan Jixin here, the affection between her and Ren Wantong and the others had completely dissipated. Enduring the humiliation from the cultivators of the Green Firmament dynasty was already unbearable. In the end, he was betrayed by his good friend. One could only imagine how depressing it was. Chapter 1304. The cultivators of the Snow Origin dynasty are too disloyal. At this critical moment, they even abandoned their companions. It's shameful. Xia Jiqing's face was full of incomprehensible light. Since they were companions, they would naturally follow them all the way. If they gave up in the face of a little danger, then in the end, they would be left alone. Alone in this small world, there was no way to survive except for death. After so long, the attitude of Nangong Yujin and Nangong Yu has not changed at all. Their arrogance is disgusting. Dongfang Yu's eyes were filled with cold hatred. He was extremely disgusted with Nangong Yujin. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly, looking at the situation. This problem seems to be caused by me. She had just arrived at the central square and faintly heard her name, which was very strange. Thinking back, when she left the Qing Shao dynasty, she drugged Nangong Yaochen. She thought that the royal family of the Qing Shao dynasty should be in chaos. However, after she left, she never paid attention to the news of the royal family of the Qing Shao dynasty, so she was not very clear. If her judgment was correct, the royal family of the Qing Shao dynasty should not be very good. It was normal for Nangong Yujin and Nangong Yu to hate her. However, if it was really because of her, how did Nangong Yujin know that she would arrive in Yaqin City today? Nangong Yujin, it has been so long, and Bailey Hongzhuang has not come yet. Are you sure she will come? At this time, a cold and hoarse voice sounded, and everyone noticed the black figure on the high platform of the central square. The man was wearing a black cloak, and his body was completely hidden in the cloak, so that people could not see his true appearance. However, just by listening to that hoarse voice, everyone felt uncomfortable. After the man spoke, Nangong Yujin quickly said, Bailey Hongzhuang should come. Compared to his previous arrogance, Nangong Yujin's attitude when talking to the man was obviously more restrained, and he even faintly tried to curry favor with him. Upon realizing this, the cultivators who were watching the battle were rather surprised as well. Previously, they focused all their attention on Nangong Yujin and Nangong Yu, so they did not notice the existence of this man. Based on the current situation, it seemed that the cloaked man was the one with the most authority among the cultivators of the Qing Shao dynasty. Nangong Yue hurriedly nodded. With Bailey Hongzhuang's personality, she would definitely come if something happened to her friend. She clearly remembered that it was Nangong Xiujie who humiliated Dongfang Yu. Bailey Hongzhuang also humiliated Nangong Xiujie in the same way. At that time in the Qing dynasty, Bailey Hongzhuang humiliated the royal family in public. This was a very serious matter. Logically speaking, ordinary cultivators would not do this, but Bailey Hongzhuang did it. From this point alone, it could be seen that Bailey Hongzhuang valued her friends. What's more, this time the cultivators of the Snow Origin dynasty suffered because of Bailey Hongzhuang. As long as Bailey Hongzhuang knew about this, she believed that Bailey Hongzhuang would not sit idly by. Hearing this, the cloaked man's voice was still low and cold. It better be so.
Chapter 1305. In the crowd, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others saw the man hidden in the black cloak, and there was a trace of surprise on their faces. They had never seen this man before when they went to the Qing dynasty. With the arrogance of Lingyin College, if this man was a cultivator of Lingyin College, then it was impossible for him not to fight. As a result, there was only one conclusion left: this man was not a cultivator of Lingyin College at all. However, Nangong Yujin and Nangong Yu were so cautious about this man, which was too strange. It was reasonable to say that Nangong Yujin's status in the Qing dynasty should be very high. After all, the crown prince Nangong Aochen was dead, and the second prince Nangong Xiujia had died in the hands of others, so it was possible for Nangong Yujin to inherit the throne. If this was the case, then Nangong Yujin was the most powerful person in the Qing dynasty. But now it was a strange man, which was very strange. I don't know who this cloaked man is. Is he a hidden expert of the Qing dynasty? Gong Shaoqing's handsome eyes flashed with doubts and thoughts. The identity of this man was really suspicious. No matter what his identity is, it can be seen from his dark clothes that he is not a good person. Dongfang Yu was too lazy to think about it. In his view, the cultivators of the Qing dynasty were all enemies. Master, Nangong Yujin and Nangong Yu are too despicable. They use such a method to force you to come out. Xiao He and Xiao Bai could not hold back after knowing the reason. These guys were really too hateful. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was also cold. She had only met Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman once. She had never thought that just because of this, she would drag Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman down with her, causing them to suffer such an unexpected calamity. Miss Bailey will not come, you should give up. Yuan Jixin's eyes flashed with anger, and his voice was firm and cold. Nangong Yujin looked at Yuan Jixin with displeasure, and then stepped on Yuan Jixin's body. What does it have to do with you whether I give up or not? I think you are tired of living. Do you want me to kill you now? Yuan Jixin looked at Nangong Yujin with disgust. Kill me if you have the ability. Hearing this, Nangong Yujin was even angrier. He immediately reached out and lifted Yuan Jixin up. Do you really think I don't dare to kill you? After seeing this scene, Yuan Xiaoman's face showed a nervous expression. Nangong Yujin. Yuan Jixin was her cousin, but the two of them had been very close since they were young. When she thought of Nangong Yujin killing Yuan Jixin in front of her, she couldn't bear it. Looking at Yuan Xiaoman's angry look, Nangong Yujin's face showed a smug smile. He lifted Nangong Yujin off the ground with his right hand and looked at the surrounding cultivators. Bailey Hongzhuang, if you don't come, this Yuan Jixin will die in my hands.
Nangong Yujin's voice was mixed with Yuanli, clearly spreading to every corner of Yeqin City. He did not believe that Bailey Hongzhuang would not come out. Chapter 1306. Who is this Bailey Hongzhuang? How can she be so important to the cultivators of the Qing Shao dynasty? I don't think she's a simple character. Maybe today's situation will really happen. If Bailey Hongzhuang doesn't show up today, I'm afraid her reputation will be tarnished in the future. Everyone sighed. They didn't know who Bailey Hongzhuang was, but today, Nangong Yujin threatened Bailey Hongzhuang with his friend's life. If Bailey Hongzhuang didn't show up, she would be a coward. Bailey Hongzhuang, have you become a coward now? Nangong Yu also looked at the cultivators around the square. If Bailey Hongzhuang didn't show up today, she would be even angrier. Today, she specially set up a trap for Bailey Hongzhuang. She wanted to kill Bailey Hongzhuang in front of everyone. Nangong Yujin, Nangong Yuher, you are now going further and further down the road of despicable. A cold and indifferent voice suddenly came from under the high platform, and then a white figure slowly appeared in front of everyone's eyes. When everyone saw the white figure, their faces were filled with a touch of amazement. The white gauze dress wrapped around the enchanting and perfect figure, and the slender waist was tied with a blue ribbon. The whole person was like a green lotus, giving people a sense of freshness and tranquility. Her long black hair was casually tied up, revealing a languid and charming charm. Just looking at her back, it was enough to make people's imagination run wild. When everyone saw the face of the woman in white, their amazement had turned into deep amazement. Her ivory white skin was crystal clear, a pair of gentle and moving willow leaf eyebrows, dark as ink, deep like a pool, and it was impossible to see what was flashing in the depths of her eyes. She had a delicate and small nose, perfectly curved lips, and all of her facial features were exquisite to the extreme, revealing a lively and otherworldly beauty. Wow, I feel like I'm looking at the ninth heaven fairy. This woman shouldn't be Bailey Hongzhuang, right? Nangong Yujin has been clamoring for her. It's really an eye-opener. Everyone sighed. Before, they had been guessing who this Bailey Hongzhuang was. Obviously, the Bailey Hongzhuang in front of them was completely different from what they imagined. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang again, Nangong Yuer's jealousy could not help but deepen. Almost every time she saw Bailey Hongzhuang, she couldn't control the jealousy in her heart. After a year of not seeing Bailey Hongzhuang, Nangong Yujin, Bailey Hongzhuang, you dare to come. The moment Nangong Yujin saw Bailey Hongzhuang, his face became gloomy. Perhaps in the eyes of others, Bailey Hongzhuang was like a fairy, but in his eyes, she was an extremely hateful woman. Her delicate and beautiful face evoked a mocking sneer. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Nangong Yujin indifferently. You came to me with such great fanfare, how can I let you down? Yuan Zhixin and Yuan Xiaoman saw Bailey Hongzhuang appear at the moment. Their faces were full of amazement, and there was an unspeakable shock in their hearts. Zhu Weicheng and the other 5 were partners they had been with for 6 months, but at this critical moment, they did not hesitate to abandon Yuan Zhixin and Yuan Xiaoman. On the contrary, they and Bailey Hongzhuang just met once, but Bailey Hongzhuang came to save them. Chapter 1307. When Zhu Weicheng and the others saw that Bailey Hongzhuang had actually appeared, there was a look of surprise on their faces. They really did not expect that Bailey Hongzhuang would actually come. Didn't this woman know that since the cultivators of the Qing Shao dynasty had deliberately attracted her, they must have made sufficient preparations? At this moment, Zhu Weicheng and the others were amazed and felt that Bailey Hongzhuang was stupid. A cultivator from a small dynasty actually dared to show off in front of a cultivator from a medium-sized dynasty. Wasn't this seeking her own death? However, they were also a little happy in their hearts. Since Bailey Hongzhuang had already come, and they had nothing to do with Bailey Hongzhuang, then maybe they could leave. Bailey Hongzhuang, you are really confident. Now is not the time to hold the inter-school tournament. You won't have the same good luck as before. Nangong Yuer looked coldly at Bailey Hongzhuang. She did not know where Bailey Hongzhuang's courage and confidence came from. People with discerning eyes could see that this was a trap. Bailey Hongzhuang actually dared to come. She really did not know whether to say that Bailey Hongzhuang was loyal or that Bailey Hongzhuang was stupid. Without waiting for Bailey Hongzhuang to speak, Xia Jiqing had already stood up directly. Nangong Yuer, you are just a defeated opponent of Hongzhuang. Now you dare to be so arrogant. Your face is really thick. Bai Junyu also looked at Nangong Yuer with disgust. If the inter-school tournament was not held in the Qing Shao dynasty, Hongzhuang would have already killed you. Nangong Yuer was also very beautiful, but for this woman, Bai Junyu only felt disgust. Any man who knew the nature of Nangong Yuer would feel disgust. After all, people did not only look at appearance. Seeing Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu speak so impolitely, Nangong Yu's face was ashen. What she hated the most was the fact that she had once been defeated by Bailey Hongzhuang. Fortunately, no one usually mentioned it. However, now that Xia Jiqing had said these words in front of so many people, she only felt that she had lost face. When the cultivators present heard that Nangong Yu had once been defeated by Bailey Hongzhuang, they could not help but exclaim. Did I hear wrongly? Nangong Yu, a cultivator from a medium dynasty, was defeated by Bailey Hongzhuang, a cultivator from a small dynasty? Isn't this too strange? You really can't judge a book by its cover. If that's the case, this Bailey Hongzhuang is very strong. It seems like Nangong Yu wants to find Bailey Hongzhuang for revenge. Listening to these words, everyone had already imagined a lot of plots. Thinking about it, with Nangong Yu's identity being defeated by a cultivator from a small dynasty, she must be unable to bear it. Therefore, it was not surprising that she came to get back at them. Zhu Weicheng was also stunned. He looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and Nangong Yu in disbelief. He could not believe what he had just heard was true. Bailey Hongzhuang, who he looked down on, had defeated Nangong Yu. This was simply too shocking. However, looking at Nangong Yu's ashen face was enough to confirm the answer. Chapter 1308. Listening to Nangong Yu's words, Xia Jiqing and Bai Junyu didn't care. For a guy like Nangong Yu, there was no need to be polite. A loser is a loser. No matter what you say, you are still a loser. Xia Jiqing twisted her neck and looked at Nangong Yu proudly. She didn't like Nangong Yu for a day or two, and it was best to make Nangong Yu angry. Looking at Xia Jiqing's smug look, Nangong Yu only felt angry and immediately wanted to slap her. At this time, a low and hoarse voice suddenly sounded, "Are you Bailey Hongzhuang?" Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes turned slightly and looked at the cloaked man who had not spoken since she appeared. He finally spoke at this time. Yes. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was gentle and her eyes looked directly at the cloaked man. Today was the first time she saw the cloaked man, but from the moment she saw the cloaked man, there was a very uncomfortable feeling in her heart. Now the closer she was to the cloaked man, the more obvious she felt. This guy exuded an uncomfortable aura. In fact, since she walked to the central square, she had been wary of the cloaked man. In her heart, this cloaked man was much more difficult to deal with than Nangong Yujin and the others. You look good, but it's a pity that your luck is bad. You have offended someone you shouldn't have offended. Only death awaits you. Under the cloak, the man's mouth evoked a sinister and evil smile. His hoarse voice was so unpleasant that people couldn't help but frown. Seeing the cloaked man speak, Nangong Yujin and Nangong Yu's faces showed a smile. The cloaked man was their trump card. As long as the cloaked man was willing to make a move, killing Bailey Hongzhuang would definitely not be a problem. I naturally look good, but a guy like you who can only hide in a cloak must be very ugly. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips evoked a sneer. Since the two sides had become enemies, she naturally wouldn't be polite. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, a shocking murderous aura erupted from the cloaked man's body. Nangong Yujin and Nangong Yu's faces changed slightly. At the same time, they looked at Bailey Hongzhuang gloatingly. This Bailey Hongzhuang really hit the muzzle of a gun. Normally, they wouldn't dare to talk to Wei Junjie like this because Hu Junjie was really ugly. As for how ugly it was, they had never seen it. Normally, Wei Junjie was always hidden in his cloak and rarely communicated with others, so they didn't dare to look carefully. However, he had been warned not to mention the word ugly in front of Wei Junjie, let alone try to look at Wei Junjie's appearance. That would be courting death. Therefore, they did not mention a single word about it these days. No one expected Bailey Hongzhuang to poke at Wei Junjie's sore spot the moment she opened her mouth. This was really interesting. You will die without a doubt. Wei Junjie's eyes flashed with a touch of anger. His eyes were filled with murderous intent as he stared at Bailey Hongzhuang. No matter what, this woman will die without a doubt. In the face of Wei Junjie's anger, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't care at all. From the moment she stepped onto the high platform, she already knew that this was a situation where one of them would die.
Chapter 1309. The final result is not known yet. You don't have to rush to a conclusion. Bailey Hongzhuang looked indifferent. She was also looking at the situation in front of her. The Qing Shao dynasty had a total of 8 cultivators. She glanced at them and their strength was not much different from the cultivators of the Sky dynasty. Except for the cloaked man's strength, there seemed to be a layer of invisible energy that prevented others from seeing his cultivation. She could judge the cultivation of the others. Nangong Yujin and Nangong Yuher's improvement in this year was obviously not small. After all, the heritage of the royal family was extraordinary. This assessment competition was a very important thing for every dynasty. The royal family of the Qing dynasty must have invested a lot of resources in the two of them. Before their strength had improved, they were able to defeat the cultivators of the Sky dynasty. Now that their strength had improved, the situation was undoubtedly better. Everyone listened to Bailey Hongzhuang's words and their hearts could not help but be amazed. At this time, Bailey Hongzhuang could still say such words indifferently. Wasn't her tone too big? Master, I noticed a dark aura from this cloaked man. His cultivation method should be different from other cultivators. Xiao He frowned slightly. She had been paying attention to the cloaked man. This guy was really strange. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. She also noticed this. However, no matter how the cloaked man hid, she would know in a while. Arrogant. Wei Junjie sneered. Bailey Hongzhuang's confidence would not last long. Dongfang Yu, with your strength, you can still participate in the assessment. You are really lucky. Nangong Yujin chuckled and did not hide the contempt in his eyes. In the beginning, Nangong Shoujie just humiliated Dongfang Yu in public. Dongfang Yu fell into pain and could not extricate himself. He thought that such a guy would not be able to go far in the future. He did not expect to see him here again today. It was really rare. Nangong Yuher's eyes were also filled with doubt. Although Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were all cultivators of Kanglin College, it was strange that they could participate in the same team. The possibility of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others coming from the same empire was too small. No matter which dynasty it was, they would try their best to select at least one member of the royal family to participate in the assessment. However, Bailey Hongzhuang's team consisted entirely of students from the college. It was the first time she had seen such a team. Dongfang Yu's eyes fell on Nangong Yujin. He hated the royal family of the Qing dynasty to the extreme. Back then, Nangong Shoujie humiliated him and he still remembered it deeply. Although Nangong Shoujie was dead now, this hatred did not dissipate. Moreover, Nangong Yujin was also a disgusting guy. Dongfang Yu's hands clenched into fists.
He hated that he couldn't kill Nangong Yujin directly. Seeing this, Gong Shaoqing patted Dongfang Yu's shoulder. As a good friend of Dongfang Yu for many years, he was very clear about the impact of that scene on Dongfang Yu. Dongfang Yu had always been a senior admired by many cultivators. He also had a very outstanding talent in cultivation. Chapter 1310. Listening to Nangong Yujin's humiliation of Dongfang Yu, the coldness in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes deepened. Nangong Yujin, I really admire you for not dying when the royal family is in turmoil. You can be considered a scourge for thousands of years. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a mocking smile. At the beginning, she hated the royal family of the Qing dynasty to the extreme, so she fed Nangong Aochen that kind of pill. Logically speaking, any cultivator who was close enough to Nangong Aochen would have died. However, Nangong Yujin and Nangong Yu did not have an accident, which proved that they did not visit Nangong Aochen after that. On second thought, with Nangong Yujin and Nangong Yu's mercenary character, seeing that Nangong Aochen had no hope, they naturally did not care too much. Therefore, the current situation was normal. With Bailey Hongzhuang's words, the faces of Nangong Yujin and Nangong Yu instantly became ugly. This was the biggest pain in their hearts. The Qing dynasty was prosperous before, but because of Bailey Hongzhuang, the royal family was now hit hard. In the previous period of time, the royal family of the Qing dynasty had been turbulent, and many people had ulterior motives. Coupled with the fact that the neighboring countries knew that the royal family was in trouble, their actions became more frequent. Under this kind of internal and external troubles, they were all badly battered. It was not until recently that they felt a little better. When they thought of the situation, they felt that it was an intolerable tragedy. Bailey Hongzhuang, if it were not for you, my Qing dynasty would not have become like this. Nangong Yu was already angry to the extreme, and now hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, she could not help but explode directly. She used to be so free and unfettered that she did not need to worry about these things. However, because of Bailey Hongzhuang's interference, the power of the royal family was greatly reduced, and even she was almost forced to marry. The initiator of all this was Bailey Hongzhuang. As soon as Nangong Yu finished speaking, all the cultivators around the central square gasped in shock. The fact that Nangong Yu was a member of the royal family of the Qing dynasty was not unknown. In the past year, the strength of the Qing dynasty had weakened a lot. This was a fact that many people knew. However, no one would have thought that the instigator of all this was actually this young woman in front of them. This was simply too shocking. Isn't this Bailey Hongzhuang a cultivator from a small empire? How can she influence the entire royal family of the Green Firmament dynasty? Since Nangong Yu said so, it is most likely the truth. So it turns out that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others have such a deep grudge against each other. This Bailey Hongzhuang's ability is too terrifying. At this moment, everyone's impression of Bailey Hongzhuang completely changed. It was simply unimaginable for ordinary people to be able to weaken the strength of a dynasty. Yuan Jixin and Yuan Xiaoman were not too surprised after hearing this. After all, Bailey Hongzhuang was a cultivator who had obtained the inheritance of the Bloodgrave Abyss. For such a cultivator, it was simply impossible to understand with common sense. Perhaps things that were very difficult in the eyes of other cultivators were not difficult for them. However, Zhu Weicheng and the others were completely dumbfounded at this moment. Nangong Aochen, Nangong Yu's, Nangong Yu's words, Wantong Yu Nangong Yu's, Nangong Yu heirs, Sheet S's, Sheet S. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Nangong Yujin and the others. You called me here with such fanfare, and now that I am here, you can say what you want to do directly. She knew that Nangong Yujin and the others were using Yuan Jixin and the others to threaten her. If she did not come out just now, Nangong Yujin would really kill Yuan Jixin. After all, if he killed Yuan Jixin, he still had Yuan Xiaoman as a bargaining chip. Wei Junjie laughed hoarsely, you are really courageous. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Wei Junjie faintly, say it, a group fight or a duel? You're tuning into the Passion Page's YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.